Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Bulletproof for BJJ podcast. I am JT.
Hey guys, I'm Joey.
And today we're talking about why the kettlebell is king for your home gym workouts. So possibly one of the most versatile things that you can have in your arsenal, at home, in your living room, in your garage, is a kettlebell. Super convenient, does so many things for you. And we're going to break down why, if you don't have one, you should get one.
What about other home training ideas? Pull-up bars, barbells. Are we going into that stuff?
Yeah, we can speak to that definitely.
Because I feel people probably listen and be like, well, but what about the pull-up bar? I think that's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about what about that one?
Talk stick.
The
good old talk stick.
Or that one.
Old mate Strongham's. Oh yeah, chest expander.
Yeah, the thing Charles Atlas.
Yeah. With the springs.
It? Yeah.
Amazing. I'm not sure if that's what actually made him so jacked, but whatever. Let's not get bogged down in the details. There are many great things, but I guess, if we were to reduce it down to if you could have one thing, don't get me wrong, I think pull-up bar is an amazing thing, but some people live in apartments. Literally for body corporate, they are not allowed to have a pull-up bar. Like you are not allowed to put screws in your doorways or any other some such business.
Yeah.
And this, by the same token, it's quite funny to me that in a lot of people's homes, they don't have a horizontal, they don't even have a spot where they could hang off. I'm like, surely there's on your veranda or I'm getting messages, people going, can't do pull-ups, can't hang rings. What do I do? So it's like, okay, there are things that you can do. I think the reason why we've chosen to speak about the kettlebell today is because some people are on lockdown, so they're at home and they need to get a good workout. And then also some people don't necessarily have big budget to be able to afford barbells and plates and all the other things. And with a single kettlebell, there is so many things you can do. So I think it's an economic thing. I think it's a convenience thing, and it's also simplicity. So that's where I'm speaking to it. And how about for yourself, Joe? You've been playing around with the kettlebells for a little while. How do you see them being beneficial?
I agree. I got given my first two kettlebells when I was, can't remember how old I was turning. My brother and sister gave me two adjustable kettlebells.
Oh, classic.
They're the yellow and green ones. They're in the gym now.
Still?
Yeah. And you unscrew them and then put the plates on and off. And I think they go from maybe 16 to 32 kilos or something.
Amazing.
I got those when I was mid-20s, say 24.
Yeah.
I'd come back from traveling overseas, was getting into the training thing, and they're like, here, have these. I've never used them hugely, like very intensely for any one period, but I've used them kind of here and there for many years. Yeah. And the beauty of them that I've found is that they're always there. And because they don't take up much room, and now that I have a gym, I don't need
of course
stuff at home as much, even though we do have a couple things, but that's why they're here. But having something around like a kettlebell, the beauty of it is that they're quite small, so it can be sitting there acting as a doorstop.
Classic. Or
it can be on the inside of the hallway next to where you keep your shoes.
Sure.
It's within arm's reach. You're like, I'm going to do some deadlifts. I'm going to swing this thing for a few minutes. You can do it.
Yep.
Whereas the barbell or the rings or whatever, for the most part, you don't need to go and grab them. You need to bring them into the room. You need to set it up. You need to create space for it.
Yeah.
It's really, I think for most people with most home setups, the convenient factor of a kettlebell is just second to none.
Yep. I definitely agree with that. I think being an obsessive person, I did get quite obsessed with kettlebells. And
you're in my phone as James KB.
Well, it's funny you mentioned it. That was actually my first nickname when I came to jiu-jitsu. Peter DeBean just called me Kettlebells.
Yeah.
I think you told kettlebell.
Oi, kettlebell. I think you told me that and I was like, oh, kettlebell.
Yeah, that's me. I'm just that round shape with that weird handle, which is my head. I think it was because I'd done a lot of training and I'd heard about them when I first did my Cert 3 at the Fitness Institute Australia in the North Shore, Sydney, off Military Road there. And I remember...
Oh, like St. Leonard's?
Yeah.
That's where I did mine.
Yeah, right.
It's like green and black.
Yeah.
Super lame.
Oh, well, I mean, look, it was, at that time for me, it was 2001.
It's transformative.
Mate, it was,
For a young man.
I was the youngest person in the room.
Right.
And, it's like a room of 20 people. And I think it's Phil Schwartz. He was a professional bodybuilder. He became a physio. And he told this story about going to the circus in Europe. And there were these Russian strongmen. And they were all doing, feats of strength. And then they started throwing these kettlebells at each other, like juggling them. And he's like, these things are like 20 kilos plus. And they were moving further back away from each other. And he's like, they're flipping them across the stage and they weren't dropping them. And he's like, imagine holding 20 kilo plates and throwing them, 5-6 meters to your partner and trying to catch them. Don't break your fingers. Like, he was trying to explain just how dynamic kettlebell lifting could be. And I'd never heard of him. And so I was like 18 and being like, what the hell is he talking about? Never heard of him again for a period of time. Then it was kind of later in the piece, I was doing Taekwondo, and I was my kind of last competitive year of Taekwondo, 2007. And I was like, man, I got to dial up. And I'd seen some videos talking to some Taekwondo friends of mine. They're like, oh, have you seen this guy, Steve Cotter? He's an animal. And I was like, all right, well, whatever. And Steve Cotter was doing, pistols with 232 kilo kettlebells. It was crazy. He was doing all kinds of stuff. And I was like, wow, this is next level. I want to know more. So I tracked down Efim through the Australian Kettlebell Company, and I started doing some PT with him.
Tracked down who?
Efim Kurubatsky, who was like everyone knows him as Phil. It's a very Aussie thing to do. Take someone's name.
Makes sense.
Yeah, because it's obviously shorter. No. And it sounds the same. Not really. But basically, I found this guy, this man who's wider than he is tall, just operating out of his garage in kind of South Caulfield. And man, the first workout destroyed me. And I was like, I'm a fit, strong person. I've been lifting weights forever. How can this thing hit me so hard? And the thing that just absolutely, in the same way jiu-jitsu kind of revolutionized my life, in 3 weeks, I was that much stronger and that much fitter from training kettlebells 2 or 3 times a week. It blew my mind. I'm like, this is serious. I got to get around this. And then I pulled my mate Chris in on it. Shout out Chris Muelling, aka Bill, who
aka Tony, aka James.
I got him involved. And then what was great was the shared suffering of, I already had 4 weeks training under my belt.
Right.
And then Efim put him through the same workout he put me through the first day, and he fucking died. And I got to witness him crumble, which was a great feeling.
Right on.
And then he was like, man, this is great. And so, we kind of went from there. And the simplicity of it got me. I couldn't believe a movement like a swing or a Turkish get-up just hit you on so many levels. Grip, core, shoulders, hips, back. I was just like, what the hell? I would come home from that training and just collapse on the couch and fall asleep. I'd sleep for a couple of hours and wake up, be like, whoa, that killed me. And that's so funny because I hadn't done any super serious grip training because Taekwondo doesn't really involve that. I hadn't done really serious dedicated pulling work, but there is that in kettlebell training. But having a year of kettlebells under my belt, when I came to jiu-jitsu, I was very conditioned, and it made me think this is good for jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Yep.
I remember when I was quite into the barbell kind of CrossFit style realm and Olympic lifting, and I was sort of really getting into the Olympic style lift for a while. And I was never particularly good at them, but I was into them. And at that time, I remember, listening to podcasts that are talking about that, and you kind of get to this point when you're in that realm where you can't see past the barbell.
It gets a bit myopic.
Yeah, you're like, man, barbell's everything.
It is, yeah.
Like the clean, wow, the push press.
Wow,
deadlift with the barbell. Like, that's the shit. And it's all about like, how heavy can I get my 5 rep max? How heavy can I get my 1 rep max? And then I remember at that time not really having much respect for kettlebells. Yeah. And at the time, Joe Rogan, he's always talking about his fucking kettlebells.
Sure. Well, he sells them, right?
Yeah. But his aren't as good as ours. And if you're looking for the Bulletproof kettlebells, go too.
Coming soon.
Yeah. But I remember thinking, I just had this elitist view, and sure. Joe Rogan's always talking about it, and I'm like, what are you and your fucking kettlebell workouts? Like, and one thing that has always stood out to me as the side of kettlebell stuff that I don't like is when I see just people. I won't say trainers, but when I say, and it happens a lot on Instagram, who individuals who really don't possess much strength at all.
Yep.
Or coordination.
Sure.
And they're holding a really light kettlebell and they're doing a kettlebell flow. And they're like doing like one rep of like 75 different movements. And like, look, I throw it behind my back and then I catch it on my butt. Yeah. And then I hip it and then I catch it again. And then I press, and it's like that to me, like that I still think is lame.
Sure. And it is.
Right. And I figured you would agree, but looking now since
Primal Swolger.
Oh my God, yes.
Yo, if you ever hear this Primal Swolger, come at me. Fuck you.
Bro, this guy with the hat, just show us your hairline. Just show us your hairline, man. We're all getting older.
It's okay.
It's like you can't roll with the hat on.
That's true.
So anyway, I came back around to them really in recent years. And I think I got to a point with my training with the barbell stuff where I was like, man, why am I deadlifting twice a week trying to get to 200 kilos? Like, how much is enough?
Yes.
Because there's a point, and we've spoken about this on other episodes, where it's like, okay, that's strong enough.
It is.
Like as a 1 rep max, and what did we sign off on for the deadlift? It's like if you can deadlift double your body weight for a handful of reps, be it 3, be it 5, you're good.
Yeah.
Like you don't really need to do any more deadlifts like that at that intensity.
You probably need to put some time on something else.
Yeah, like get a bit mobile, like fix your squat, right? Like all this stuff. So as I started to come around to that stuff thinking, I came back to the kettlebell and be like, you know what? It's actually a really good tool because I think it was the barbell drew me towards maximal efforts.
Sure.
And obviously there are maximal efforts you can do with a kettlebell, but I feel like their true power of a kettlebell is in the ability to do like a moderate to high effort, but capacity, like doing more repetitions than just one.
Definitely. And that's the thing. I think what a lot of people don't realize is there is a insane depth to kettlebell training that most of us don't know about because it's very obscure, which is Girevoy sport, which is the marathon running of kettlebell training, where people are doing multiple clean and jerks, for 10 minutes at a time, as well as snatching, very heavy kettlebells, 24, 28, 32 kilo kettlebells non-stop. For 5 minutes on one side, 5 minutes on the other. It is brutal.
10-minute rounds, that's what it is. It doesn't change.
No, I mean, they do marathons, so you can do half an hours. And
oh my God.
Oh, it's rough, right? The other side of this is almost like is it aerial gymnastics? What's the gymnastics where they have a ball and a ribbon? And
is it rhythmic?
Rhythmic gymnastics. There is a kettlebell category, which is kettlebell juggling. And it's performance art. Like dudes will come out in like helmets and swords and music will play. But when they're juggling 32 kilos. It's not messing around. You could kill yourself. You could flip it and drop it on your head.
Yeah.
So it is a show of strength. The only issue here is that we've gotten, Instagrammers being like, yeah, I can flip this 8 kilo all kinds of ways.
Hey guys, home workout, give it a try. Comment below.
Yeah. Thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crap. That's the thoughts. It's one of those things that it gets mixed, right? And there's plenty of people who will say, oh, you've got to have more freedom and expression and stuff. Sure, people can use things how they want, but there's definitely a lot of science behind the way kettlebells are trained. We're just not necessarily privy to it. So bringing this back to you guys training at home, the reason why I was such an advocate for such a long time was I got a lot fitter and a lot stronger with the same tool, just doing kind of different approaches to that. Now, I think it's better. I think it's always beneficial to have like a lighter kettlebell, a kind of medium one and a heavy, just so you can have a variety. I actually think you should have a pair of all of them and just have them in your garage, but that's me. That said, you can get a lot of benefit out of one kettlebell. That's why I'm going to say, if you give me one tool, just give me a good medium-sized kettlebell because you can press that sucker, you can do a get-up, you can do cleans, swings, snatches, squats. You can do so many movements provided you've got the knowledge and the understanding of how it works. And the thing that really changed up training for me was working for time. I always used to do sets and reps. And then it was like, no, you have to swing this thing for 5 minutes. I was like, what? 5 minutes? It's like, yeah, that's some work capacity. Go. And so obviously when you start, you might only do 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and then your lower back is like burning, your glutes blow out, and you're like, I can't do this. I'm blowing out smoke here. But over time, you do build work capacity, and that's the great thing. And the thing where we really lack, if you're sitting at home, you're on the couch, or you're working from home, you're on the laptop, if there's one thing that's going to help undo that seated, rounded, crappy posture, kettlebell swings. The kettlebell swing, in my opinion, other than, say, a snatch, which is a bit more technical, pretty much everyone can do a kettlebell swing, is just like one of the best things for developing your posterior chain. So that's why I would say that's a great move. That is something that we should all get around. And if you've got bad knees or bad ankles for whatever reason, and you want to get your heart rate up, that is a great way to get fitter standing on the spot. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, right on. I like the kettlebell swing. Did you ever read, it might have been Tim Ferriss in the 4 Hour Body, talking about someone who did, I think it was 10,000 swings in a day or something like that?
Yeah.
And he had the method of the pocket full of coins?
No, I don't remember that, but I do remember mention of that in the book.
The guy was, the method intrigued me. And so I remember, and I tried it for myself.
Oh, okay.
So the method was, he didn't want to set a number.
Yes.
And say, well, I'm going to do 10,000, because that's just, it seems insurmountable and you're going to psych yourself out of it.
Sure.
So what he did was he grabbed a pocket full of coins, and then he just assigned a value to each coin. So I think one coin was 10 reps.
Okay.
So he didn't know how many coins are in his pockets, just a handful.
Right.
Pulls one coin out, puts it on the table, does 10.
Right.
Pulls another coin, does 10.
Okay.
And just keeps going until there's very few coins left.
Right.
So then he could feel there was very few coins, so he kind of just gauged roughly how many he thinks there are. And then he's like, all right, it's like 30 reps for one coin now.
Right.
And made it to the end. And then he went back and counted the coins.
Oh, wow.
And it equaled, 10,000 reps or something.
Whoa, that's huge. Well, I mean, look, James Ross, a good friend of mine, GS Science from Melbourne, Richmond Gym, he is a guy who will train for 3 or 4 hours at a time.
Wow.
His training's insane. And he will be doing jerks and snatches and swings. But he will do like on the minute, every minute type, like 6 reps on the minute, every minute for 2 hours or something, like something crazy. But his coach, like his mentor, I hope I get this right. I think it's Valery Ginko. There's a few different Russian world champions in kettlebells.
Tony,
that guy, the Russian, Bulletproof Tony. He, that guy who is his coach, has the world record for like most squats with 100 kilos.
Wow.
Like
with 100 250s?
No, like a barbell.
Oh, okay.
So this guy would say, don't go running. If you want to get fit for kettlebell training, this is just, he's a psychopath, but just putting it out there, guys. This guy would do, I can do he weighed about 80 kilos. I put 80 kilos on a barbell. I can squat it 3,500 times. And he does a rep every 6 seconds or something.
Wow.
Continuously.
Volume.
Psychopath stuff. The reason why I say this stuff, guys, is a lot of people feel that strength and endurance are separate. And what I love about the kettlebell is it really taxes your grip and it really works your core. And this is something that really surprises people. Once they've start to do a bit of training, like, oh man, my back muscles, I'm really feeling this in my abs. It's like, yeah, you've got to really brace when you do a kettlebell swing. You do a Turkish get up. 1 rep takes a while. you do 1 rep on each side. You're like, whoa, I feel like I've been working out for ages because you've got a lot of time under tension. And I think this is the thing that really gets underestimated, that most people, when they do a rep, they don't count how long it takes them to do it. They just do it. I'll just do a rep. But when you get into deeper and deeper into kind of strength conditioning, there's tempos and, slow eccentrics and all this stuff. But let's translate this to you guys working. If you spend more time doing 1 rep, you are doing more work. It is harder. Slow reps are really hard. And a Turkish get-up is not something you should do fast. And for those of you out there, if you've never heard a Turkish get-up or a TGU with a kettlebell, you start on the ground, you press the kettlebell up, you're lying flat on your back, and you bring yourself to a standing position, and then you bring yourself back down to the ground. And this can be done in a number of ways. This works your whole body in a way that pretty much no other move does. And I feel like if you guys understand jiu-jitsu and you've done a technical stand-up, it is like the weighted version of a technical stand-up. So in that way, I just go, you know what? if there's one move that translates to jiu-jitsu other than a deadlift or a pull-up, it is a TGU.
Talk to me about the sub-maximal idea and more the leaning towards higher volume. So, more like higher repetitions.
Yep.
And the carryover to jiu-jitsu.
Well, I think strength endurance, this is the thing that's really underestimated. Strength endurance is probably the most important thing in combat sports. It's your ability to produce force continuously over time. And if you've ever done those really long rounds where maybe your coach has forgotten to start the timer and a 5-minute round turns into a 20-minute war, it's really the person who just keeps going. That's the person who's going to win. And the person who's just like, we can all be strong when we're fresh, right? But the saying goes, fatigue makes cowards of us all. You can't be strong when you're tired. Like when you gas, your nervous system depletes. It takes a fair bit of training to build that work capacity. And the reason why we're talking about kettlebells today, guys, is specifically your grip and your core. Your grip is the first thing to go. Like if you start to get tired, your grip will weaken.
In jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also in sports in general.
Yeah.
Like it's one of the first signs of nervous system fatigue is your grip weakens.
Right.
And we know how important that is. When you're doing, 5-minute rounds of swings or you're alternating, you build it up to more and
even
more
higher,
minutes.
even if you're just doing like 15 to 20 reps,
15
right?
to 20 reps, you're really going to feel the weakest link go first. And for most people, it's grip.
Yeah.
If it's not grip, it's usually lower back.
Yeah.
Because this is not something that we train to be enduring. We don't pick up heavy bales of hay and we don't carry things the way we used to. You might have experienced it, guys, if you're like me and you want to carry all the shopping at once. I'm not a 2-trip guy.
Yeah. It's your grip and your lower back.
Yeah, you feel it. You feel your traps, you feel your lower back, you feel your grip. And that comes from carrying things over for an extended period of time, holding weight in your hands.
Yeah.
So in terms of building your work capacity, the idea is that you work with a weight that you can work with for 15, 20 plus reps and you build that. And what this does in terms of like actually localizing, helping the endurance in the localized muscles is phenomenal. Like it does things for you that just doing pure cardio stuff will not do. And then ultimately over time, as you build your work capacity, you're like, I can last 5 minutes doing swings. I'll progress from this 16 to this 20. And then as you do this over time, it doesn't actually take that long, guys. Like if you work on this consistently, after a while, you're swinging a 24 for 5 minutes, you are stronger and you are fitter. And so this is like an amazing double benefit.
And anyone who trains jiu-jitsu can identify with, you're playing some kind of open guard, you got sleeve grips or whatever.
Yep.
And you're trying to control that person. Maybe you're playing spider. This is me. I'm projecting right now. You're trying to play spider guard because you're like, I know I can make it work.
Yeah.
And then like 2 minutes in, you're like, my grips are fried.
Yes.
You're like, it's not worth it. I'm going back to close guard.
Half guard of death.
Yeah.
Clinch.
But if you look at what happens in that moment, it's muscular fatigue of your grips.
Yeah.
Shuts down progress. It's
Yes.
like, that's it. You got to change plan.
But then we also
hold on.
But we also know a person who's got that killer spider guard whose grips don't get tired. And you're like, why can't I break these grips? It's so annoying.
Yeah.
Like, it gives them an advantage because I've seen this actually at a very high level. A friend of mine, I won't name them, it was Abu Dhabi trials, and they had this plan on how they were going to pass this person's guard. And they said, look, they told me beforehand, look, I'm going to get in there, I'm going to break grips, I'm going to do this. Big fatal flaw. They could not break this person's grips in the whole match.
Wow.
They got swept, they got their back taken, they got choked. Because their whole strategy was based on, I can break this guy's grips. They couldn't. Their grips were too strong, and this just totally phased them. Their game plan went out the door because the grip was so strong.
Yeah.
And anyway, also the thing for us in jiu-jitsu is we spend a lot of time flexed, right? With ab, curl, crunch position. A lot of the kettlebell training, whether it's a swing, a clean, a snatch, relies on really powerful hip extension. And it really gets your glutes and hamstrings working. And that's a fantastic thing. If you can build strength and also endurance in those muscles, you are going to be a much more athletic human. Because I think if you can see it in a lot of athletes, they might be quite built in their upper body, or they look fit, but when you look at them from side on, a lot of athletes are kind of flat. The most athletic ones, they got a big booty. They got really strong erector muscles. You can see their meaty hamstrings.
You're not talking about Ryan Hall, are you? You are not talking about Ryan Hall. Got it.
No, I love Ryan Hall, man. So why you got to do him like that, man?
I do love Ryan Hall too.
Man,
he just doesn't look athletic at all, which is the best.
He's the least. He was voted the least threatening MMA fighter in history.
Right on.
Which he does look that way until he twists your leg off, but it was just. I just wanted to get his game going, but it just didn't happen.
Disappointing.
It was sad. But so
building that athletic base, glutes, hammies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that stuff, I think what JT's touching on there, it's universal, isn't it? Yes. Having a strong posterior chain, glutes, hammies, muscles of the lower back, that area, and you see it, the pinnacle of that kind of development is amongst sprinters.
Yes.
Power. Jesus Christ, they look like Clydesdales.
Yes.
But it helps in jiu-jitsu, it helps in life, it helps for your posture, it helps for general health. Having strong muscles of the backside of the hip is really kind of essential.
Yeah.
So kettlebell allows you to tap into that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it ticks a lot of boxes in that way. And so if we think about bang for your buck, because I actually had a trainer ask me this many years ago. He says what is the one move? If you could do one exercise and that was the one move you could do forever, what would you do? And I said, TGU, because I think you can do it for strengths and you can also do it for conditioning. And then second to that, I would say a kettlebell swing or a deadlift. That's me, right? Because I have my biases. All those things involve having your feet on the ground.
Yeah.
But pull-ups are amazing as well. But that's the thing. If you can't have a pull-up bar,
I do this mad flow that I saw on Instagram where it's like a backflip and then 2 clap push-ups and then you swing the kettlebell 2 times and then you pull yourself around the bar and then a guy kicks you in the stomach 3 times, but you take it.
Amazing.
Yeah, I like that exercise.
You feel like that would be your ultimate?
Yeah, if I had to choose one.
That would be the only one. But no, because I've been doing Bulletproof on Zoom with our BJJ crew here at Jungle Brothers, exposing them to that, which has been really good. And some people don't have a kettlebell, and that's okay. And so I've been getting them to kind of make do with pot plants and
cool.
random rocks and just some weight to hold on to. But obviously they can't do all the things I need them to do. So, been keeping it more body weight-ish. But here's the thing, guys. If you would like to get stronger in your upper body, get a stronger core, develop your posterior chain, and get fitter, which is a lot of boxes to tick, you can't do it with a kettlebell. So that's why I'm always advocating for it. Now, I might have drunk the Kool-Aid a bit because there was a point at which I went, you know what? Same way you might have gone a bit hard on the barbell. Speaking with other health professionals and people smarter than me, people talking about what dumbbells are good for. What is a barbell good for? What is a kettlebell good for? And then knowing a tool's limitations. So you go, it's just a tool. But if you've only got one tool, it's a good one. It's multi-purpose.
Yeah, I think and obviously everything has its merits, but if you compare to those dumbbell, barbell, which really are the sort of conventional tools of the West, I just said arm and I said I wasn't going to say arm today.
Shout out Kate White.
Shout out sound editor. We appreciate you.
We do appreciate you and all your edits.
Those tools they're the tools of the West, and the thing is because you can't swing them, there's no rotational aspect to their use. The exercises are very linear, aren't they?
Are.
So it's like press, pull, raise, kind of hinge, squat. There's not too many options. And yeah, you can swing a dumbbell.
Yes.
It's just not as convenient. The kettlebell, it just gives, because of the way the handle's shaped and where the weight sits relevant to your grip.
Displacement to the grip.
Yeah, it just allows for this extra level of dynamicism, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It brings another dimension to the training, which for a lot of people listening are like, I don't quite get what the fuck you're talking about. If you look at those movements, so swings and get-ups and whatnot, there's so much going on in them that say is not happening in a barbell deadlift or an overhead press.
Yes.
And that extra stuff is really what's preparing you more so for the level of dynamicism on the mats.
Yeah, and that's right. And as much as I am the big, I have a thorough belief that you need to have good body weight strength. There's a point at which you actually need to start working on a weight external to yourself, because you're going to have to wrestle a human. That's the most dynamic weight you can have. Like if a kettlebell was fighting you, that would be it. So what I think is this, relevant to all these things, and this is something which is probably, it's not given credit for. The kettlebell swing is a plyometric activity, because you're getting pre-stretch of the hamstrings, and then you got to contract them really strongly. You can't achieve that with a barbell. It's giving you stretch and strength at the same time, which is quite tricky. And sure, people are out there just making up moves and whatever, and good luck to them. But if you just do some of the fundamental movements within kettlebell training, you will get stronger. You will get fitter. Your grip will improve. Your core will go up. So even if you're not doing any jiu-jitsu right now, and you are able to train kettlebells 2-3 times a week, you're going to come back to the mats, and your technique might be a bit off, but you'll be crushing people.
Yeah. The foundation will be there.
That's right. And I think that's why I've decided to bring this up, because we've got some people here in Sydney on lockdown, and they're grasping for things to do. People are stuck at home, and you need to get a kettlebell in your life. Yep.
Take me to a recommendation, a general recommendation. Like we have, say, the kettlebell program that we run through Bulletproof.
Yes.
Has this progression of exercises, and people get, it takes you from beginner through to advanced. What would be a starting point? Give me, like if I were a 65 kilo female.
Yes.
And I'm like, hey, I have little to moderate strength training experience.
Yes.
And I've got, whatever, I'm going to buy 2 or 3 kettlebells.
Yes.
What weights would you recommend for the 65 kilo female?
I'm going to recommend an 8, a 12, and a 16.
Right on.
You need a lighter one to master your technique. I think you need to get around your technique on all fronts. Now, 8 kilos might be too heavy to press overhead, but then I would also recommend you probably have some 5 kilo dumbbells to the side to build up your upper body pressing strength. But to master your technique for swings and cleans and the like, you're going to find that 8 feels pretty light pretty quick for lower body stuff. So then once you've mastered your techniques, going to the 12 is going to be handy. And then once you develop that confidence, you're going to find just within a couple of weeks, you're like, this feels pretty light. And then you can go to the 16, and that's when you're going to go to work. It's probably not going to be appropriate for overhead pressing, but this is what you're going to find, guys. You're going to get strong quick. And that's the great thing about it. And it's not that, you'll never use the 8 again, but you really want to hone your technique.
Well, the 8 would be you'd use that for the get-ups and wouldn't you? Single leg deadlifts, as you get further down the track and do more advanced exercises, you need that lighter stuff again, don't you?
You definitely do. And I actually encourage people at a critical point, once you have done kettlebells for, say, 4 to 8 weeks, it's worthwhile having a pair of kettlebells at a medium weight. Not the heavy ones necessarily, but let's say you've got an 8, you've got a 12, and you've got a 16. A pair of 12s will really sort you out in terms of doing the double kettlebell work. So with our kettlebell program online, the first 2 cycles is intro, kind of, if you've never done it, it'll really suit you. It's a good place to start. It progresses. You've got a kind of intermediate, medium, harder intensity. And this is all single kettlebell stuff. But when you get into the advanced, there's doubles. And by that time, you should have invested in a pair of kettlebells.
And what weights would you recommend for an 80 kilo male, similar training experience?
Yeah, I would say similar, but I would say we go 12, 16, 20.
Right.
And scale it approximately. If you're a bigger human, if you're a 100 kilo guy and you've deadlifted before, still we want your technique to be good. So then we might say 12, 16, and 24.
Yeah.
For the hip hinge stuff when you're getting into kettlebell deadlifts and stuff. But definitely 3 kettlebells is enough. Light, medium, and heavy. And as you get stronger, it'll feel easier. And then you making the investment in a couple of heavier kettlebells is a worthwhile investment because they're forever. They take no maintenance.
And you know what else is cool about a kettlebell? I mentioned it before. They kind of, if you get some nice ones, they look pretty cool.
Yeah.
They make a great doorstop.
They do.
You could have you could have your grandma sew a little cozy or something for them,
Yeah.
like a little teapot type vibe.
Why not?
But when they're sitting there, Like, you got kids in the house, and you know, I'm not suggesting that your 2-year-old tries to pick up the 24, but kids will come and pick them up and carry. Like, look, I can pick. You know, like it starts to bring the training thing,
The culture.
to the family.
Yes.
And and then you're all playing with it. You're out in the back porch, whatever. You do some swings. Your kid gets to carry it. It's, you know, your kid's not really going to go and pick up the barbell or the plates because it's in the garage. It's all very specific. You know, they require maintenance. Really, with your kettlebell, it's like, don't let it get rusty, right? If you're using it plenty, it won't get rusty. If you leave it in the rain, okay, just give it a sand back and rub some talc on it, right? Like, or chalk on it. Like, they're a very robust, long-lasting, inexpensive tool to give you all of those benefits.
Yeah, definitely. And so that's as simple as we could have it, I reckon. And so for you guys, if you're at home and you don't have a gym, get yourself a kettlebell. And I think that will tick a lot of boxes for you.
Love it. Guys, thank you for tuning in today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. If you want to know anything more about our kettlebell program online, go to www.bulletproofforbjj.com. Killer program. It's right there. It gives you a good amount of training, and had some very good reports back on people loving the kettlebell training there. So get yourself a kettlebell and go check it out.
Love it. Cheers, guys. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, JT.
Cheers, Joey.